week's highlight, we look at the different ways in which companies are reaching out to China's youth with marketing tools and new products, especially tailored to their tastes. During the recent China Youth Branding and Marketing Forum in Shanghai, China's increasingly brand-conscious youth was highlighted as a market worth $40 billion a year. Apart from the brands which feed and clothe the country's young people, there are also those that see the business potential in helping them spend. This week's Haizhe looks at some of the financial products being targeted at a ripe new market.
A report by China Social Academy shows that spending on children tops Chinese household expenses, starting well before a child realizes his or her own spending power. Insurance is the first financial product after a child is born, and some insurance companies report that children's products now account for a third of all their businesses.
Even before the babies are born, parents have already started to look for the right insurance. Accident and health insurance are the most popular ones since they are low-priced and convenient to purchase. And now more parents would like to buy products for education.
With more than 10-year experience, Ni told us that the premium is closely linked with how much parents earn. Normally, parents in China allocate 10% of their income for children's insurance. As children grow up, their purchasing power kicks in at around the age of 12. McKinsey reports that every year Chinese teenagers have $7.5 billion in their pockets, in addition to which parents are willing to spend around $29 billion on their behalf.
Their parents or their grandparents, are the financial backups for this group of people, and especially when you talk about how they spend future monies, in this case, like how they swipe the credit cards and everything. Actually, most of the youth actually right now, when they spend future money, is paid by a supplementary card by their parents.
Among all the supplementary card, I think most of them is from spouse, husband for wife. But for children, it's something about 10 to 20%.
In China, citizens aged over 15 are eligible to hold a supplementary credit card. Her company is the country's biggest credit card issuer, and she says most primary cardholders are an affluent group with a credit limit of over 30,000 yuan, and children studying abroad. As soon as they get to the age of 18, students can't wait to get their independent credit cards. The latest statistics show that 24% of university students have a credit card, and 60% of these cardholders have a credit limit over 2,000 yuan.
For students, sometimes they have some purchase with big amount. Something like they will buy some digital camera, MP3, or a laptop. So we will provide an installment plan by 6 months or 12 months.
Credit cards for students first appeared in China in 2005, and experts say it won't take long to catch up with the 85% penetration levels enjoyed in the US. Due to their limited disposable income, profit margins for student credit cards are narrow, but banks are still enthusiastic about grabbing market share.
This is so-called first card strategy. The earlier you build a relationship with potential customers, the longer they will stay with your brand.
China Merchants Bank has more than 50% of its student credit card users continue to use their regular cards after joining the workforce. In addition to credit cards, banks and security companies are realizing students increasingly willing to try other financial products, such as securities and mutual funds. 86Bizwatch.
In order to grab a share of the youth market, companies are exploring innovative ways of marketing and branding. Young consumers switch attention much more quickly than older consumers, and traditional marketing tools such as hard advertising often fail to turn their heads. Event sponsorship is emerging as an effective way to lure this group. This week, I interviewed Jing Huang, Director of Partner Marketing Asia Pacific at Motorola Mobile Device. She shared with us her experience of leveraging young consumers' passion for sports and new technology into marketing efforts. There's a growing trend for companies or brands to use special events to attract young consumers. So has it been a successful tool?
I think very successful. I think recently you can't just show ads and do commercials for the young market, the youth market. The youth market consistently needs very short sound bites as well as very interactive types of events. And there's too many things to distract them outside today. You really need to capture their attention through interactive events, and I think that is the best way to go. I think that's critical. They want everything to be personalized and to put their stamp on what their choice in entertainment is today.
On the other hand, event organizers, they are competing for your marketing buck. So what sort of event can really bring value?
I think it depends on the strategy of the company. Certain companies will want to stay within top-tier markets, which traditionally still maintain largest market share and wealth. So they will do select events in those cities. For other cities and other events, if you go into more of the interior of China, I think that's very helpful, and that's a growing trend of where things are going. If you're doing bigger projects and events, not so selective in cities, more of a grassroots feel, whether it's a grassroots sports event, which will hit more cities, I think that brings a different impact to your strategy in the business.
What about investment? It requires a huge investment, right, compared to traditional marketing campaign.
For sure, I think it's very, advertising is you're in the office and you can just do it, have a media company buy and do it for you. So it's very sort of hands-off. But when you do these events, it is very hands-on and grassroots. I think it is a large investment, but again, you get to know the local culture of the city and the ways of the different regions because China is so vast. So there's some payback there. I think one of the weaknesses and difficulties that's happening in China today with some of these more developed events that are going to smaller cities is the fact that execution is very difficult. And every city has different standards, and so if you want to replicate one event throughout hundreds of cities in China, it's tough to maintain the standard.
How do you actually execute these plans in smaller cities? Do you work with local people or other organizations in the region?
Well, traditionally you work with an agency. So you have one agency who you obviously need to work through and see what their local representation is like, and rely on that knowledge. I think what we've found through working with our agencies is the best way to do it is to really sit closely and discuss what your expectations are and to have everyone prepared on a very clear template, on a rollout, exactly executionally, on a script, if you will, how things will be done.
Because it's not just replication. Things are different in different cities, right?
Yeah, all the regions. I mean, imagine being in Guizhou versus in Jilin, and then you're in Fuzhou. All the different areas are so different.
Usually during an event, you might be able to create some sort of enthusiasm and emotional connection to the brand or the product that you are introducing or promoting. But how do you maintain that bond or connection afterwards?
I think the important thing is not to be allied particularly with one celebrity or one, politician or what have you, one actor. I think the key is to be seen as a cutting-edge and innovative brand, which really then have, you have lots of young people thinking and asking and saying, hey, wow, this brand, this company is doing some interesting things, very cool events, they've come up with some ideas, they understand what youth want and the voice of youth. And I think that is really the more important way of aligning yourself.
Something that fits their lifestyle.
With their lifestyle or with a particular project or with a particular series of events that you're holding, an annual event that people can look forward to every year. It's not just a one-off, one-time, one-season thing.
What are some of the new trends that you're observing or new types of formats or projects or events that companies start to think about and use maybe in this next year and the next few years?
Blogging certainly is very hot, and everyone's seen that with a lot of, whether it's celebrities or politicians or business people in China. The Chinese people are very avid followers of that. So some twist of blogging, I think, is critical. You see now in the U.S., widgets are very popular. There's little icons that you can bring in your own personalized information to, whether it's the phone or whether it's your computer. And I think companies are starting to embrace that in Asia as well. I think that's a big thing.
Jing also said that adding traditional cultural elements could be another win factor in attracting young consumers.